welcome to Indian River News. I'm your host, Morgan Roberts, and today we have a new segment for you where our team has been looking into corporal punishment, and we will be discussing what corporal punishment means, what it is, and the different types of punishment for each child. We will also have some people out in the field today doing interviews and getting opinions on corporal punishment. But first, let's talk to Kenda and Victoria.
Good morning, and welcome to Indian River News. I'm your host, Kenda Green.
And Victoria Ortiz. The article we're going to be addressing today is called Corporal Punishment as a Stressor Among Young, and it's by Heather A. Turner and David Finkelhor. Corporal punishment is referred as the use of physical force with the intention of causing a child pain but not injury for the purpose of correction or controlling the child's behavior. And this was said by Strauss and Donnelly.
The article basically addresses the impact of corporal punishment on the psychological well-being of the youth, and it is shown, or the article shows that there's a high correlation between the frequency of corporal punishment someone experiences in correlation to the psychological distress and depression that they undergo. So basically, the higher frequency someone experiences of corporal punishment, the higher chances they have of experiencing depression or any psychological damage.
Corporal punishment has been socially accepted, basically, saying that it's okay to spank and slap your kids. It's like a discipline for the child, and they think that people believe it's highly effective and necessary, but due to studies, it's like if you punish somebody without reinforcement, then that's what would cause the distress and depression. So usually the people that use corporal punishment are too lenient or ineffective if they actually don't use corporal punishment. And I guess
so there's almost a negative stigma around people who choose not to use corporal punishment because it's shown as them being ineffective parents.
Thank you, Ken and Victoria. And now on to the next part of our segment, where one of our reporters, Sarah, asked a few people their thoughts on corporal punishment.
Hello, I'm here with my friend Timmy, and we're going to be talking about corporal punishment. So, what would you define corporal punishment as?
Corporal punishment, I would presume, is parental beatings or punishments.
Okay, so spankings and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
spankings or groundings, yeah.
Okay. So, do you believe that parents are considered to be weaker or stronger parents if they spank their children?
It depends on the situation. If they broke in a vase or did something that's so very bad, then they kind of do need a proper spanking. Because spanking, in my point of view, is discipline. Mm-hmm. If you don't show discipline, they're gonna have more problems.
Okay. Would you use corporal punishment on your own children?
Yes, I would actually, but I won't go so far to where they'll get bruises because that's an abuse. Mm-hmm. But I will do punishment to have my child go to the right path.
Okay. Did you experience corporal punishment as a child?
Yes, I have, and thanks to my parents for doing these punishments, I've actually became the man who I am today.
Okay. And then how do you think people who experience corporal punishment as a child are affected later on in life?
Once again, it depends. Mm-hmm. It's mainly on the child's mentality. Okay. If they don't see it's a bad thing and they're just getting beaten for no reason, then they'll think their parents are just evil or wrong. But if you just do in order, you gotta teach your kid. You can't just give them a random spanking. You gotta teach them what's right and wrong, along that everything has consequences and everything has punishments. Okay. Even goods.
Okay. Thank you, Timmy.
No problem.
What would you define corporal punishment as?
Spanking or using physical force to punish your child.
Exactly. Okay. So, do you believe that parents are considered to be weaker or stronger parents if they spank their children?
I think it depends on the situation, but in general, I would consider them to be weaker parents.
Okay, why?
Because I think that if you can figure out how to get to your child with words or other methods of respect, then that would be more useful.
Okay. Would you use corporal punishment on your own children?
Speaking as a teenager, no. But in the moment, it might be a bit different having a child. So,
Okay. And then did you experience corporal punishment as a child? And if not, what kind of punishment was used instead?
I never was spanked or anything like that. I just like went to timeout.
Okay. And how do you think people who experience corporal punishment as a child are affected later on in life?
I think they may think that using force is like an acceptable option for other people besides children.
Okay. Thank you, Sydney. Hello, I'm here with my friend Liam, and we're gonna talk about corporal punishment. So Liam, what would you define corporal punishment as?
I would define corporal punishment as disciplinary action through physical discipline, like spanking.
Do you believe that parents are considered to be weaker or stronger parents if they spank their children?
I believe that parents would be considered stronger, as like something spanking can be seen as morally wrong, but through their eyes it can be seen as better for the child.
Okay. Would you use corporal punishment on your own children?
Yes, I would, because sometimes the consequences of their actions may not be strong enough to define what it needs to be.
Okay. Did you experience corporal punishment as a child?
Yes, I did, in forms of like beatings through like hands, belts, whichever, but
Okay. And then, how do you
but
think?
through their eyes it can seem as better for the child.
Okay. Would you use corporal punishment on your own children?
Yes, I would, because sometimes the consequences of their actions may not be strong enough to define what it needs to be.
Okay. Did you experience corporal punishment as a child?
Yes, I did, in forms of like beatings through like hands, belts, whichever, but
Okay. And then, how do you think people who experience corporal punishment as a child are affected later on in life?
later on in life, it's really more of a respect thing and a power thing, because there's not so much the beating, but it's more of like where they stand in the world and how they should conduct themselves.
Thank you for your time, Leo.
Thank you.
So, what do you define corporal punishment as?
Isn't that like spanking children?
Yes. So it's like using physical punishment to not injure a child, but to correct a behavior.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you believe that parents are considered to be better or worse parents if they spank their children?
I think that, I like to think they're better if they spank their children, just so that, they know how to discipline their kids, and just they try to raise them right and not just, let them live wild and crazy.
Would you use corporal punishment on your own children?
Yeah, I think I would, only because my parents did the same thing, and it kind of like, showed me what's right and what's wrong.
Are there any other forms of punishment that you would view acceptable as well?
I guess timeouts, or just maybe like you take something away, like a privilege, just so they know they understand the consequences of their actions.
And then, how do you think people who experience corporal punishment as a child are affected later on in life?
I think they mature at a younger age and they know what's right from wrong. And they grow up to understand how to live in society with a proper attitude and behavior.
Okay. Well, thank you, Max, for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you to our team for putting this together, and thank you to our viewers for tuning into our segment today on corporal punishment. We will see you next time on Indian River News.